Because we're on.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome back. Today we're talking about what is your unique selling proposition. And today Nate and I are going to talk about that. Like, how do you find that? And how do you figure it out and determine what makes you unique that's separate from your competitors or from other people in your space? So let's talk about it. We are Nate Simone. We talk all things marketing, and welcome today. If you are listening for the first time, go back and watch our previous videos. And we are marketers. We talk mostly about the bigger strategy, because so many people want to sell you websites or funnels or AI or Facebook ads or whatever. But if you don't have a strategy, an overall strategy for your business, it doesn't matter about any of that. It's not going to work. So we want to make sure that you see the bigger picture. You take a look at your business from a 10-foot view. So, hi, Nate. Um,
Hello.
we are here for Lunch and Learn on Tuesdays, and we're talking about
Yes.
your unique selling proposition, or as you said,
Yeah.
your value proposition, right?
Yeah. There's kind of different names for it, but it all amounts, I think, to about the same thing. The point is, what makes you different? How do you stand out amongst the competition? And, um, how do you go about differentiating yourself as a business? Why it's important to be clear and have and compelling when it comes to talking about your what makes you unique, and then how like strategies that we can refine that messaging and test it. So that's what we're talking about.
Awesome.
So yeah, so today, first to get started, get things kicked off here. Um, I guess we could start talking about the what in the world is a value proposition or unique selling proposition. And at its very core, it's atomic level, I guess you could say. Value proposition is, the thing that sets you apart. It's the whatever compels someone to do business with you to become a paying customer. What makes them choose you over anybody else, right? In any given market, I'm sure that there's tons of other options that they have available. So why should someone choose you, right?
Mm.
Um, so some things to think about here when you're creating your value proposition or unique selling proposition is focusing on benefits, not features. I think that's a pretty common refrain. What to you, Simone? What do you think that means? Can you give us an example?
Oh, let's see. Say a benefit. Uh, I guess I can talk about for what I do. With helping business owners to automate their client life cycles. A benefit would be less stress in your business, and or you have more time to do things because the automation, the machines in the background are doing a lot of the admin work that you used to do. So a benefit of automating a particular task would be saving time. A feature would be having a voice AI agent that answers the phone for you and only transfers the calls to you that are qualified, and that people who actually want an appointment with you, and not the people who are just calling to get, oh, what time are you open? Or how late are you open today? That kind of thing. As a business owner, so if you're as a business owner, whether you're answering the phones yourself or if you have somebody in the shop or something with you, you don't want to pay somebody $20 an hour or $30 an hour to answer the same questions over and over again. You can pay $200-300 a month for a voice AI agent to do the same thing. So a benefit might be cost savings. Whereas a feature is you've installed voice AI to answer your phones.
Yeah, that's great. Um, I think also anytime that you can speak to the concerns that your clients have and how what you do helps to alleviate those concerns or solves the problems that they have, those are the benefits to the client, right? And
Absolutely.
thinking about it from that perspective, I guess, is helpful. um, Speaking of um, okay, well, we'll keep going on here. So showing another important aspect here is showing results or outcomes that the customer can expect from working with you is extremely
Right.
useful.
And
And
that are measurable results.
yeah, so this is where
Yeah.
having case studies, for example, with results that you've been able to generate for past clients comes in
Mhm.
handy. Helps to really set you apart and um, gives them one more reason why they should choose you, right? Well,
Absolutely.
if this person is able to do that for them, then maybe they'll be able to do the same thing for me, right? That's kind of the idea.
Absolutely.
So, so the question here: what benefits does your business offer? Um, and I would encourage anybody listening to take a moment, write down one benefit that you think would truly resonate with one of your customers. Um, okay, so now that we know what a strong value proposition looks like, next question: how do you stand out when your marketplace is crowded with a bunch of other competitors? And I guess the first thing here to think about is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel to stand out. Um, I think somebody said one time, you don't even have to be better than competition.
Mm.
You just have to be different.
Just have
you
to be
know,
different. Yeah.
you just have to be someone that people remember.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as that, really.
Mhm.
Um, Now,
It's
it,
interesting.
it
It's like
it helps if they're remembering you for the right thing, though. So,
that's true. That's true. The thing that you want them to remember you for should be something positive,
yeah.
but should be something that they like and value. So, I think of two different sandwich shops. Like one is maybe Jimmy John's, and another one is Potbelly. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Potbelly, but
Oh, yeah, of
they're
course.
yeah, they tend to be around college campuses here in the DC area. Um,
They have them in
I
Illinois
feel
near Chicago, but I haven't seen them here in Indiana, unless it's at the
yeah.
airport or something. But
So I've been to a Jimmy John's before, and I found that the sandwiches it was pretty good. Being a vegetarian, the thing for me is that well, I'm not going to eat the meat, so there's got to be some other connection for me that where it works. So not eating meat means that there needs to be some sort of other alternative to make me want to come in and buy your sandwich. At Jimmy John's, the sandwich is okay, but I didn't really find it compelling. Whereas when I went to Potbelly, and same issue, right? I'm getting a grilled cheese sandwich basically. They grill the bread and melt the cheese, but then they also have this ingredient called like their hot peppers, where they have pepper and pepper, like little cauliflower bits and carrots and some other things, and it all just kind of mixed in, and it just gives the sandwich this kick. So
hmm,
you know um it
making me
just has
hungry.
this ingredient that just makes it different and special, and
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily miss the meat.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's so good place to go if you're a vegetarian. Um, um, yeah, really good.
Like,
I
can I get
think
something more than
of
just cheese and bread?
yeah, yeah, something that I think of when I think of this particular topic, like standing out, um, I guess would be, like what about, okay, well, let me ask you, let me pose it as a question. Would a company that does something special for others, does that make them stand out, do you think? Like for example, I think Warby Parker, if you buy
Mhm.
one, they give a pair away. That I think that's the deal with them.
Yeah, I think so. And there's a sock
I think
company that does the same
yeah,
thing. You buy a pair, they give a pair. Um, and I think that's a good thing. I think that would draw people in who you can get socks anywhere. You can get glasses anywhere, really. And the same styles, the
yeah,
same styles, the same probably the same quality. But
yeah,
if you are conscious about wanting to help other people, then you may gravitate to a company that will you may even pay a little bit more for the idea that every time I buy from this company, I'm also giving to someone else who is in need. And if you're a person who thinks in that way, in that vein,
yeah.
then yeah, that's a great that's a
I
draw.
saw I saw somebody I saw another YouTube video here recently. They were talking about how like a local bar trying to sell watermelon juice, for example. Um, they were never able to sell just plain watermelon juice, as it was called. So they spruced it up, put some leaves in it, so some mint, call it watermelonade, and then charged more for it, and then it sold like hotcakes.
Wow. Wow.
And so they just made it unique and different. It's the same thing. They just kind of spiced it up and just took a different angle on it,
Yeah.
right? Kind of an interesting idea. So, all right. Here's a good question for our listeners out there. So, what are your competitors doing well, and where are they falling short? And most importantly, how can you do better? These
Yeah.
are the things you need to ask yourself here.
There is a what's his name? Alex Hormozy says, one great way to get a competitive advantage and over your competitors, um, if you're doing the same things, if you can do what you do faster for your clients, that's an
Yeah.
immediate competitive advantage.
Yes.
Get
Anytime
them that
you
result
can.
faster.
Yeah. There's a list of 7 motivators. Um, I have somewhere here, but it's let me see if I can track it down real quick. Yeah, well, anyway, so one of them is, anytime you can save a client time or
Mhm,
money, or you help them solve a problem with their life, you improve their health, you give them
mhm.
more time to spend, more free time. You help them with their families, their pets. Those are kind of like important motivators that
Mhm.
people will happily trade their money for if you're able to solve those or do those things for them, right? Related to those.
Yeah. And speaking of the pets, I was walking down the street the other day and stopped at a red light, and there's a gentleman standing next to me. He had his dog on a leash. He had his dog on a leash, and but mid stride, he kind of picked him up and was carrying him. And I'm thinking, why are you carrying the dog? But I think he just wanted to. It's a little dog. Um, and we're standing at the light waiting for it to change so we can cross the street, and I'm looking at him, and he's like kissing the dog on the head, just, and the dog is just, this is life, just enjoying his life. And I'm thinking, people really do love their pets.
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so, all right. Where are we at here? All right.
You
Let's get
help
back
people show
to,
help people to show their love to their pets even more.
yeah.
They will
Yeah.
pay you.
Well, was it, somebody was talking about, I was watching another video. They were talking about this pet food brand, Chewy, if you're
Mm.
familiar with that.
Yeah, I've seen the
So
commercials.
the thing about it is it's like a monthly fee, and they send you bags of dog food, so you never have to think about it again. It's extremely convenient, right? Saving people
Which makes
time,
sense, yeah. That's
saving people's
convenient.
effort.
Mhm.
Um, but the problem is people's pets will pass away, and what ends up happening, the last thing you're thinking of is, oh, I got to cancel that food order, right?
Yeah.
So they end up sending the order in a lot of cases, and they can't take it back due to health reasons. So they say keep the bag. And then a couple days later, they send them a bouquet of flowers and with condolence card.
Oh, that is so nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's
That's
amazing. And
nice.
then, yeah, and then, of course, you have this extra bag of food, so you better go get another pet.
Right. You either get another pet or give it to somebody else who has a pet, and then they end up
Right?
on the
Yeah,
Chewy subscription.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Pretty
nice. You have to
amazing.
go get another
Yeah,
dog. Well, who's gonna eat the
yeah.
dog food?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I'm not that hungry. Yeah. um. All
Good. I
right.
like that.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, something that you can do here, when it comes to trying to figure out what exactly it is that helps to differentiate you and what makes you different is just simply asking your customers, right?
Mhm.
And getting feedback from your clients. You can collect, testimonials, whether verbal, video, written, whatever. You can do surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, for example.
Yeah.
Um, another key thing is, especially if you're in the process of trying to figure that out, you can do validation calls where you're actually talking to people to validate what you think they want to hear and what you
Mhm.
think differentiates you. To go out and test it, see if, yes, indeed, people have a positive reaction to it or not.
Yeah.
You know, save you a lot of time and money doing that.
Yeah.
Um, so,
And like getting the testimonials thing. Sometimes people will um it takes them a while. They're busy. They don't want to sit down and actually write your testimonial. So if you have the time, you write up a case study on them and then send it to them and say, hey, is this accurate? We want to make sure that we're writing up a case study. Like here's the before, here's what we did, and here's after. um, does this make sense? And I did that recently. Sometimes a person will say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's good, that makes sense. I did that recently, and and I wrote up what I thought was the outcome, an accurate outcome of this client's my services with them. And she wrote back, she said, oh, this looks good, but add um, and I increased my revenue 300%.
wow.
And see, I wouldn't have known that, and if I hadn't, because she's a busy person. She's a
Mm,
busy person. I like don't hear from her all the time. I only hear from her like maybe if there's a hiccup and she has a problem, something needs to
yeah.
change. Um, but I did want to get a testimonial from her, and I asked her several times, but she hadn't done it, and so I said, well, let me write something up, and um, she wrote back, "Yeah, this is my result. Thank you." Oh, well, wonderful. So that's something that you can do. You don't necessarily have to wait on the client to give you a testimonial. You can write up the testimonial and then just check it with them.
Hmm.
Say, "Hey, is this accurate?"
Absolutely. And if you're recording your calls with your client, then chances are good that they've already told you these things, and you could just go back through the recordings and put it together that way. Saves a lot of time, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I have
I
done.
actually got a
So,
testimonial on a call with the lady right after, like right before we were done. with the call, or we were about to hang up, and I said, "Hey, since we're here, would you mind giving me a testimonial about your experiences with me?" And she said,
Yep.
"Oh my goodness, I gotta okay. Let me put some lipstick on. Let me take my hair down."
Oh
And
my
she gave me a
gosh.
great testimonial.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes, us women, we care about these things.
Mhm.
But yeah, she
Yeah.
gave me a great video testimonial right there on the spot. So
Yeah, I mean, if you're already out there trying to test this messaging, right? You're having these calls with people to test out what you think they want to hear. You're already in the process. You might as well just say, "Hey, throw that in there," and
the feedback and the testimonials right then and there.
boom, right then.
Mm,
So the key thing here is remembering that differentiation isn't about being better necessarily. It's just about being different, and hopefully in a good way, right?
in a good way,
Um,
absolutely.
um, okay, so once you've identified what makes you unique, the next up is making sure that your customers can see, feel, and understand that value, which involves clear and compelling messaging. I think messaging is one of those things that we talk a lot about in marketing, and to some degree, it sounds somewhat esoteric. People are like, messaging, what do you mean by that, right? Is it like a phone message? Well,
Mm,
yes and no. Yes. Um, I
like how
guess,
you communicate to them what your
yeah.
what your offers are and how you can help
Yeah.
them. Um,
One thing I always think of in this case would be messaging is like the difference between um, talking to an engineer, versus a salesperson. They're going to use some really different language in most cases, right? Because the
yeah.
salesperson understands the types of things that the customer wants to hear. An engineer is just talking about the facts and the technicalities and things like that, which some people, granted, they do want to hear that. But in most cases, people just want to know how it's going to, fix their problems, make their world better, not necessarily how you invented it, how you got to where you are, all the tolerances involved, and all this kind of stuff, right? Those are all
Right.
the technicalities and everything that's kind of internal. It's jargony, right? You want to avoid jargon. You want to speak the language of the people you're talking to. I think
Yeah.
that's the most important factor.
Uh,
Um, and one easy way to do that is KISS. Right? Keep it simple, stupid, as
keep
they
it
say.
simple. Yeah.
Um, and you're trying to avoid cramming multiple different points into one statement. Think, what is the one thing that really sets you apart that can really, stick in people's minds? Stories are a great, thing to use here because, we as people, that's kind of, we love stories. I don't care who you are, where you come from. Everybody loves a good story. And this is what, sets apart the really good or great salespeople from like the mediocre ones, right? Is the ability to use stories and to engage your customer's imagination, help them see a better future, right? With you.
That's true. That's true. A good person to look at for this is Russell Brunson.
Yeah,
In every one of his presentations, every one of his funnels, um, he tells a story. He tells a story. And that's what he teaches. Tell how you learned it or earned it.
yeah,
You're trying to offer a solution to somebody. How'd you learn it? How'd you earn
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Where'd you get this from? What was the origin? You know? He always talks about that, and he's very, very good. Very, very good at that.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be like a full on, heavily detailed biography or,
Right. We don't need
this
to
is on a
know
made for
that you
TV
were
movie.
born in this hospital in this county.
Yeah,
We were all
yeah,
born in a hospital in some county somewhere.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but it's like I've heard this too. Like, start with where your client is at that moment. You don't necessarily need to go all the way back to the beginning, but start with where they are and and talk to them about how you got from where they are now to where you are now.
Yep. And I think it's important that that you continue to test your messaging, um, test it in different places, in different ways. Do A/B testing, as long as you're conscious of the fact that you are testing it at this point. If you have sort of like a loosely configured script that you try to stick to, and you just change one or two variables at a time, that makes it easier for you to kind of test and figure out, oh, they resonated more when I said this than when I said this, right? And granted, you're going to have different responses from different types of people. That's just the way it goes. But over time, if you have enough of this done, then you can get a pretty solid idea of what it is that people are resonating with truly. All
Absolutely.
right. So let's see here. I guess we're about at the hour here. So just to get down into summarizing and thinking about strategy here. Focusing on customer pain points helps to make whatever it is that you're offering more value driven and helps it to resonate with your customers. And that means you're gonna have to do a little bit of, legwork and figuring out what it is that, you know, keeps them up at night, as they say, right?
Mm.
What are their pain points? One of the best ways to do that, of course, is by talking to people, just asking them.
It's like
Um,
actually talk to people. Oh my goodness, what a concept.
yeah, right. Large corporations do that, but of course they have entire departments and teams devoted to that, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, how else are you going to keep things large multinational brands seeming to be more local and talking to and personal, right? You still need that. I think we talked before about Coca-Cola, for example, gigantic company, but they do things to explicitly try to be more personal, like putting people's names on the bottle and that kind of stuff. I don't know who came up with that idea, but that was a great one. Um, Seems simple, but it's keeping in mind that there are people that are drinking these bottles of Coke, right?
Right,
People with
right.
names.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Of course, data feedback is going to be important here, right? Because it helps you to find out what it is that people find most valuable, especially about working with you or your product or your service, whatever that may be. Um, and then making sure that you're testing different messaging, right? Different formats, different platforms, different social media platforms, for example. Maybe you
Yeah.
try, saying one thing over here on Twitter versus, what you're saying on LinkedIn, right?
Mm.
And
And when it comes to email marketing, you know, try also texting.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then and if that's try texting, try WhatsApp, try phone calls. um,
And,
yeah, there's
and
lots
you
of
may,
different platforms that you can use to communicate with your audience. It's not just the one way.
yeah, and you should. Um, and from that, then you can start to build, playbooks that say, this customer in this particular segment prefers this form of communication, and this message resonated well with them. From that, then you can hand that playbook over to somebody, uh, that you want to bring onto the team that's going to help you out with that messaging, for example, and then voila, they can pick up right where you left off, and it becomes a magical thing, right? There's
Yeah,
no real guesswork there. You're being strategic about it. You're being methodical. There's a method to the madness here. you know. Um,
yeah,
all right, so I think it's important to keep in mind that your value proposition or unique selling proposition is not written in stone. You know, as most things in marketing, marketing is, it's a living thing, right? It changes with time. Um, and your value proposition is no different there. It it might change based on different variables, things that are going on in the economy. Maybe you as a business are growing and getting different clients, different size clients,
Yeah.
and they're gonna
Your,
different
your
things are gonna resonate,
customer
right?
behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Customer behavior, audience behavior changes over time, based on changes in society, changes in technology. And so then your value proposition may need to change based on that.
But the beautiful thing is the methods that you use to get there are not going to change. So though you can
Mhm.
repeat, rinse and repeat, the process. Once you have it documented, once you have it laid out, you know what works, then you can continue to test that. All right. So let's when we're we're wrapping up now. So let's bring it all together and do some summarizing.
Yeah. So we talked about what are these core elements of your unique selling proposition or your value proposition, and how to differentiate yourself from the competition. Generally, it's your uniqueness. What makes you unique? Not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be better, but it just needs to be different. Why clear communication is the ultimate tool in making an impact. If you can dial it down, eliminate the jargon, talk to people as if they are people rather than talking at them as if they are things or objects or already customers, or um, talk to them in a way that they understand, that they get it. So um, we thank you so much for watching us today. Comment, what is your unique selling proposition? Share this video with others, and subscribe to this channel to to let others know that we have a unique value proposition, and we are sharing it with the world. Everybody who needs to know. So thank you for joining us today. And any last words, Nate?
Remember, your value proposition is what opens the door to your customers, make it impossible for them to walk away.
That's right.